Warmest Eid greetings to our esteemed viewers. Welcome to the People's Voice on VOP TV, where we amplify the concerned stories, perspectives, and voices of the Nigerian citizens. Today, we are focusing on so many stories, but one of which is the indigenous people of Biafra's Ipob's current response to General Yakubu Gowon's recent comment. That's one of the most important conversations here, but we'll go on a break now and return shortly to bring more details. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. We have so many issues to touch on this beautiful Monday morning, but to start with is the indigenous people of Biafra's scathing response to General Yakubu Gowon's recent comment on Biafra war. Ipob spokesperson Ima Powerful has vehemently rejected Gowon's assertion that the war was fought for unity, calling it a provocative, insensitive, and shameless attempt to whitewash the atrocities of the Biafran genocide. Powerful emphasized that Gowon's claim is a distortion of history and it's an insult to the millions of Biafrans slaughtered under his command. This strong reaction underscores the deep-seated emotions and historical wounds that still linger among the Igbo people, particularly the southeast of Nigeria. The Biafra War, which lasted from the year 1967 to 1970, was a devastating conflict that resulted in the loss of millions of lives. Ipob views Gowon's legacy as one of unparalleled brutality, comparable only to Adolf Hitler's slaughter of 6 million Jews, even though many have said that's a very, very extreme one to compare him with. But they argue that Gowon's words are a very painful reminder of the unrepentant arrogance of a man who presided over the massacre of over 5 million Biafrans. This painful history continues to shape the narrative of Nigeria's unity and the struggles of the Igbo people, according to them. Ipob has demanded that Gowon answer questions regarding the war and its aftermath, which they believe have been left unanswered. This demand underscores the group's desire for accountability and acknowledgement of the atrocities committed during the war. By seeking answers, Ipob aims to shed light on the historical truth and promote healing and reconciliation. But many other citizens have said that it is not enough that Ipob has come up with this claim, but it is important to go back into history, understanding what actually led to the issues at the time and the situation going forward, linking it up with Nnamdi Kanu'S agitations. But in a separate development, there's been a notable surge in visits from the elite and political class to the president's Lagos residence during the Salah celebration. This development has sparked commentary from analysts who, and as a matter of fact, I agree with them, they've urged Nigerian citizens to prioritize our interests and not be swayed by politicians' self-serving actions. Some analysts have questioned the motives behind these visits, suggesting that politicians are primarily interested in gaining favor and securing positions over power, and not to be brainwashed with the term of not defecting yet. It is important to understand that you cannot, with one side of the mouth, say one thing, and on the other side of the mouth, do another thing, hereby leaving Nigerian masses confused and helpless. Meanwhile, a state pardon has been requested for June 12, 2025 Democracy Day celebration, with some advocating for the reinstatement of suspended Rivers State Governor Fubara and his cabinet. This move aims to promote national unity and reconciliation. A lot of requests are out there, and the highlight is the fact that it is important to highlight the democratic values and the need for leaders to prioritize the nation's interest over personal or political gain. While this seems like a good idea, there might just be hope for a more competitive democracy, as also in the news we've seen the obedient movement planning a relaunch, which could potentially lead to a shift in Nigeria's political atmosphere. This development may influence the dynamic of citizen engagement and political participation. As the movement prepares for its relaunch, Nigerians are eagerly waiting its impact on the nation's democratic trajectory. And with personnel like Nnamdi, who is even a member of the All Progressives Congress, saying that it's never the way to go when it comes to every other political party or stronghold or giants in other political party defecting to the ruling party, with even nominees or appointees resigning their appointments. It's a wake-up call for Nigerians. But yes, it's the people's voice. Stay with us as we dissect these developments and their implications for Nigerian citizens. Join the conversation by calling in or texting us on 090-447-32605. You can follow us on social media at VOP Live and engage us using the hashtag People's Voice on VOP TV. And on YouTube, we are Voice of the People Television. Please click the subscribe button and let's make our voices heard and change the narrative that affects every one of us. It's time for a quick break now. People's Voice will return shortly. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the People's Voice. We are discussing the latest developments surrounding the indigenous people of Biafra, Ipob, and their leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Comrade Ima Powerful, who is Ipob's publicity secretary, has reiterated that Kanu has no case to answer despite the ongoing prosecution. Powerful argued that the continued prosecution of Kanu on charges of treasonable felony and terrorism is a gross violation of his fundamental rights. He emphasized that the federal government, through the Federal High Court, had previously ruled the Ipob is a lawful organization and that the fabrication of terrorism charges is a desperate attempt to silence the Biafran struggle. Even though there's been a lot of evidence that have been tendered in the case recently, he still maintained his claims. The Ipob spokesperson highlighted that the abuse of the judicial process in Kanu'S case, particularly in the use of civil procedure to overturn a valid judgment in a criminal trial. He said this has exposed Nigeria's judiciary as a tool of oppression rather than a bastion of justice. Speaking about justice, he said that they are not demanding for mercy. Powerful stressed that Ipob is not begging for mercy but demanding justice for Kanu and the Biafran people. He emphasized that Kanu's detention is an attack on justice, truth, and the rule of law, and that the Nigerian state's actions risk destroying its global reputation. Despite the challenges, Powerful expressed confidence in Kanu's unwavering resolve and devotion to the Biafran cause. He warned that those encouraging the Tinubu regime to persist in these paths do not wish Nigeria well and underestimate the unyielding spirit of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Well, interesting times are here. Joining me now to discuss Ipob's recent statement and the implications for Nigerian politics and the judiciary is VOP in-house our senior analyst, Mr. Dele Fanimo. Good afternoon, Mr. Dele.
Good evening. How are you today?
All right, I hope you enjoyed the holidays, though, even though no holiday in the media space.
Of course.
But you had some free meat.
I tried.
I think the key word is the free meat there. But let's talk about the Ipob's claim on Gowon and the Nigerian state. As a student of history, how do you respond to the assertion that General Yakub Gowon's comments on the Biafra war are a provocative, insensitive, and shameless attempt to whitewash the atrocities of the Biafran genocide.
Yeah, my takeoff point is that that war was needless, ab initio. And I'll tell you why it's needless. You see, something precipitated agitation. The 1966 coup was the seed of agitation, where the northern elements, particularly in the political space, accused the southeasterners that were at the top echelon of the military of masterminding that coup. But one thing is clear, in the military, no one particular section of the country will plan a coup without the input of other sections. It hardly succeeds.
Okay.
That's why the coup of Gideon Oka, the coup of this man that killed Murtala Mohammed, Dimka, you would notice that those two coups were primarily the elements in those coups were primarily from the present day North Central. Benue, Plateau, you know, not the core north, like the Northwest and Northeast. So, and coups are supposed to be swift. The moment you drag to a point that those who shouldn't know get to know about it, their coup has failed. And the consequence of a failed coup is clear. It's death. So, now, when those coup and counter-coup came, the northern elements in the military started this idea of subjugating the southern elements, having taken power. Gowon was a lieutenant colonel when he was called to be the head of state, while there were brigadier generals. Then they were calling them brigadiers in the military. But they had to take a northerner in person of General Yakubu Gowon as the head of state. Obviously, the likes of Ojukwu, you know, the likes of Ademule, Banjo, those people were in the military. And they felt that if this thing should continue, they will not have a place in a united, supposedly united entity called Nigeria. And so, agitation started, and Gowon led the federal side, Ojukwu led his own side, and other elements from other sections of the country were there in Aburi. Aburi in Ghana was the venue where they had meetings. And there were terms of agreement at that meeting, which should have given autonomy to the Biafra Republic. And of course, there was a push for the southwestern states to also have their own autonomy. And those terms were agreed on. But as soon as Gowon got back to Nigeria, certain elements, both within the military and the civil populace, felt no, that there was no way they were going to agree to a section of the country staying away from the Union. And the elements that were there, started by Ojukwu, was already on the side of, yes, we are there. And suddenly somebody says, no, it won't work. They're not going to allow it. And trust me, Ojukwu was still a very young man at that time. And he felt, look, this is pure betrayal of trust. We trusted ourselves, and we didn't want any undue interference. That was why we took this thing to Ghana.
Outside the country.
And as a matter of fact, I've been to Aburi 2 times. You can't drive an ordinary car to Aburi because it's on top of the hill. So your car cannot just roll back. Once your car rolls back, it's dead.
Wow.
So these issues fundamentally was betrayal of trust. That we all agreed. We are all military men. As at the time Gowon became head of state, he was not senior in rank to Ojukwu.
That's part of the thoughts of being betrayed.
Now,
don't you think that the position of Yakubu Gowon now might be able to right some of the wrongs that was done at the time?
No, you see, what we are saying is, when there was a surrender in 1970, everybody, in fact, that was when they said, no victor, no vanquished. The casualty was more on the Biafra side than the federal troops in Nigeria. But the point is, at some point, there is no war that continues for centuries. There must be a point where there will be discussion on round table. For instance, look at what is going on in Russia and in Ukraine. There is no way they will not come to the round table anytime soon for them to resolve this matter. So when that war ended and there was resolution, that was why they came with 3 R's. Reconciliation, reintegration, and forgotten the third one now. I'll remember because of this show.
Now, I want you to respond to their assertion on
now,
General Gowon's comment.
You see, if he says it's a difficult war that they had to prosecute, for me, it's neither here nor there. We have seen countries break in history, even in recent times. Sudan and South Sudan broke up and they're still there. Eritrea broke up from Ethiopia and they're still there. In Great Britain, Ireland broke up and they're still there. Semi-autonomy is given to Scotland and Wales. They are still there. So, if these people were resolute and they feel they can stand on their own, we would have just resolved it amicably and let Biafra stand. Perhaps today we will not be talking about all these problems we have in Nigeria today, because at the end of the day, everybody will grow at its own pace. And I can tell you for free that if that thing had happened at that time, perhaps the Southern Protectorate would have come together, using leverage on the weaknesses and strengths, using the SWOT analysis, to come as a confederacy with a very weak center, and all the regions would have developed at its own pace. Maybe by now, the southeastern part of this country would have emerged as Singapore.
Okay, let's move away from that story because of time. Let's talk about the stance of the Ipob, because they are not going to stop talking anytime soon. Do you think the Nigerian government has been complicit in Ipob's claim of judicial bias and oppression, particularly in the case of Nnamdi Kanu'S detention and prosecution?
You see, for me, Nnamdi Kanu'S case is to some extent sub judice now, because it's in the open court and the trial has been ongoing. And the way we are trained in journalism is anything that is in the open court, you are not supposed to comment directly on it. But indirectly, we are looking at political issues. The truth about it is, I would suggest, it's a speedy trial now. I would suggest that we wait until the outcome and the resolution of this matter through the law, so that we can put... I like that statement made by the spokesperson. Powerful. That they are not seeking mercy, they are seeking justice. And that's the route this case is taking. Whatever judgment that is passed becomes a permanent resolution.
But the same powerful has come to say that Nnamdi Kanu does not have a case to answer. He said that there's no case to answer as far as they are concerned. And in your words, yes, you agree with what he has said, that they are not seeking mercy. It's about justice, which should be the way to go. But how about the implication of this continued detention on Nigeria's national unity and stability?
As a matter of fact, I can tell you that the way the accelerated trial is going on, in a matter of maybe 1 month or 2 months, they should have concluded this case and passed judgment.
Ideally. But do you see that happening?
I'm seeing it because they go to court almost every day now.
With a lot of evidences and counter evidences, with all of that coming.
In fact, it's like any time from now, if they resume, maybe tomorrow, in the next 1 week, the prosecution will close its case. And once they closes its case, the defense will come up, and in no time, the evidence against Kanu had been put forward. It is for the defense counsels to do what is right by cross-examining those people, and which they have started. So they will also bring up their own defense, and in no time, I am seeing this case being closed by next month.
Okay, let's talk about the government's response and international community. Emma Powerful has made a strong allegation saying that for the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whoever it is that is encouraging the president to shy away from this case or not, have whatever authority he can to put on the case to ensure there's hastened prosecution, trial and judgment at the end of the day. Those are allegations according to some analysts. But what step do you think that the Nigerian government could take to address Ipob's demands and concerns, particularly regarding Nnamdi Kanu's release and the treatment of the Igbo people? Because it's sort of dicey at a time like this, because there are a larger population who will still come out to tell you that they are not part of the people seeking for a Biafra nation. So what can the government do?
You see, initially, my position on this issue is for us to find political solution to it. You know, the critical stakeholders in the southeast part of the country coming to see how they can talk government into ensuring that this thing is settled amicably and can be released so that he can reunite with his family and, and continue with his life. But over time, it took a lot of efforts from few genuine Southeasterners who are not playing politics with the detention of Kanu. Perhaps if the major stakeholders in the Southeast had been united in the real sense of it to ensure that they come to whoever has the power to use political solution to resolve this matter, maybe Kanu would have even probably returned to Britain, where he's a citizen. But we have seen it, and governors in the Southeast have even said it on different occasions, that politicians are the reasons why Kanu is still in detention.
But if you say that people are playing politics with it, does that not further back the position of those that say that the call for a Biafra nation is not a general call from the Igbo descendants?
Now, you see, if Satan, as depicted in the Bible, comes to Nigeria today and proclaims himself Satan, he will have fellowship. I hope you know that. So the same way, not everybody in Biafra who is of Biafra extraction will believe in this cause. Just like when OPC started their wahala, Southwesterners didn't believe in this cause. As a matter of fact, as I sit here, when they went to say they wanted to overthrow government, when they went to Agodi about 2 years ago on a Saturday, when the house was not sitting, when the governor was not sitting, I looked at them as crazy, mad people. And so I was on television in another program, and I said those guys should not be let off the hook, that they should be arrested. and probably charged for treason. Because it doesn't really make any sense. Violence is not the only way you can get what you want. There's a way you pile pressure in such a way that people will know that, look, enough is enough. We need to listen to these people. So, for me, you are not going to have 100% Igbo extraction believing in that cause. But I can tell you, if they succeed tomorrow, you'll be shocked that those who didn't believe in it will be the one to say, yes, on Biafra we stand.
Wow.
So, for me, two things. Nnamdi Kanu, his life should not be placed on the altar of politics, selfish interest, enlightened selfish interest. They should know that blood runs in the veins of this young man, and that his wife is suffering, his children are suffering, they have emotional imbalance that may live, the trauma may live with them for a long while.
Which will continue to threaten the unity of the nation.
And it will also continue to threaten, because these people, they know Nnamdi Kanu is no longer Nnamdi Kanu. Nnamdi Kanu is the icon, symbol of the Biafra nation. And so anything done to him affects the psychology of
every person that identifies with that.
You understand? So the earlier this case is dispensed with, the better for Nigeria to have peace. But that does not mean that the release of Kanu will automatically stop agitation. Because agitation and what they believe, the Igbos believe, is that they have not had a fair share of what rightly belongs to them in Nigeria over the years, particularly after the Civil War. So efforts to be made to consciously work towards ensuring that those things that they consider as their rights that has not been given to them should be given to them.
So when you say that there should be conscious effort to give things that they say belongs to them, are you saying that other region or other part of the country should be placed on automatic hold, whether qualified or not, because you are trying to pacify a particular part of the country?
Now, let me tell you, there is no part of this country that does not have qualified people. No part of this country. Every part of this country, if you want to locate it on the within the precinct of ethnicity, there is no country, nobody in this. I mean, no particular section of this country that cannot produce a president, a governor, whatever. Now, the Southwest, after June 12, made conscious efforts. Lives were lost, but not in the magnitude of the Biafra war that lasted 3 years. And the casualty was mostly in the Southwest. But Southwest didn't go to war. The Yoruba didn't go to war, but they also went to war. And that war was won on majority of the people that fought on the pages of newspaper and the media in general. And there was so much pressure on the military that Yoruba will not have anything other than a Yoruba man taking that rightful position that was denied Chief M.K. Abiola. And because of the pressure, both internally and externally, through the formation of NADECO, and funny enough, people forget this history. Kanu, Ndubisi Kanu, was part of NADECO, and is from the Southeast extraction.
I remember Ndubisi Kanu.
In fact, I cannot readily remember some of the names now. There were Igbos on the side of NADECO fighting for the right of the Yoruba people, having been denied that presidency by arresting, detaining the winner, the presumed winner, which has become the winner now, because government has said he actually won the election.
Yeah.
And Babangida came with his book to say he actually won the election. So that label of presumed has been removed. So it's now
the actual winner of the 1993 elections.
You understand? And one of the things the Yoruba nation extracted from the Federal Republic of Nigeria was that nobody was going to contest that election except Yoruba. And that was why Felony contested against Obasanjo.
Yeah, Olufalaye on this part and Olusegun Obasanjo on the other side.
It's another story if the so-called powerful feudals installed Obasanjo. But the point is, they met the Southwest in a way that agitation came down. Because it is still, and to even make it clearer, Obasanjo is from Owu, in Egba, in Ogun State. Abiola was also from Owu, in Egba.
That did not make the people of whether Owu or Egba or Ogun to put out their might for Obasanjo.
They didn't vote for him.
Exactly, because there are also claims of affiliations and connections with other parts of the country, other regions in the country, which will be another story for another day. Exactly.
As a matter of fact, that line of thought, I don't believe it, because at the point he said he's from Igbo extraction. His father
it's just more about affiliations, not exactly who gave birth to who and exactly.
You know, so I don't want to go into that. But the important thing is, there are lessons to be learned in agitation. For me, a Biafra is still possible, but those working on it needs to go back to the drawing board.
And re-strategize.
Okay,
Mr. Fanimo, thank you so much for your insight on that particular topic. Very sensitive one, I must say, but the truth is, Nigeria is ours. Nigerians, every one of us, whether you are from the north, east, west, or south, should have equal benefits of this nation that we call our own. But it's time to go on a quick break now. When we return, we'll be talking about Democracy Day in view. June 12th is almost here. And the pressure on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to reinstate the suspended Rivers State Governor, Siminalayi Fubara. Please stay with us.
Extraordinary. Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We break in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
Welcome back to the People's Voice, everyone. I hope that you had a wonderful holiday that's almost over. There's work tomorrow. And get ready to dive back into the discussion with us. With Democracy Day just around the corner, let's talk about some exciting developments. The former president of Nigeria, President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, is reportedly making a case for the reinstatement of suspended Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara. According to sources, Jonathan has had at least one phone conversation with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, urging him to consider reinstating Fubara before June 12. This move is seen as part of efforts to promote peace and stability in Rivers State. You might also recall that the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu suspended Fubara for 6 months on March 18, citing a state of emergency in Rivers State. Many critics argued that this action was unconstitutional, pointing to sections of the Constitution that outline the process for removing elected officials. But there are some speculations around the June 12th celebration with Democracy Day approaching. There's speculation that Tinubu might use the occasion to address the nation's concern and potentially lift the suspension on Fubara. Given the president's past statements on democracy and governance, many Nigerians are watching closely to see how he will act in this situation. But there is more to these speculations. There's a part where people have said that these advice or pressures are not coming out of the blues, but result from the constant visit, even though some were not made public. Talk about the visit in London. There is the visit of Fubara that, of course, made headlines last week, where he actually visited the president in Lagos, with a lot of people speculating a transfer of office. I mean, that's the language in the sports world, talking about transfer from one political party to the other. And yes, the FCT minister in one of his media rallies has also confirmed that, yes, Fubara came alongside 2 governors, mentioned the name of the governor of Ogun State, Prince Dapo Abiodun, to plead with him to talk about the issues between them. And we saw at some point some Tom Polo saying that the fight between Fubara and Wike is a father-son fight which would be resolved and he will personally look into. So a lot of people are saying that all of this pressure are not just coming from political views. It's a result of some ground-watering events that Fubara has had to do. But what are your thoughts on this and the implications for Rivers State and beyond? The situation in Rivers is actually complex at this time, with various stakeholders holding different views. Some believe Fubara's reinstatement could help stabilize the state. Some have said that the state is not in any disarray at the time, with the what's it called? The man in office, the yes, I'm trying to get his position.
Sole administrator.
The sole administrator, yes, I didn't just want to call his name. The sole administrator isn't doing badly. Some have said that the appointments have not caused any chaos or riot in the state, and the state was working. But for many Nigerians, we are in a democratic state, and there is nothing like an administrator under democracy. But there are some others who think that this might further complicate matters, bringing Fubara in before 6 months. The dynamic between Fubara and the minister also, that's the FCT minister in some Wike, is another level of complexity to the situation. How well are they doing at this time? But yes, the president actually made that declaration, state of emergency, which Wike actually said in an interview that if he was actually asked, he wouldn't have gone through that route. But as we approach June 12th, the anticipation builds. Will President Tinubu reinstate Governor Fubara? Will he think about the position of the People's Democratic Party in all of this, as there are speculations of Fubara jumping to the All Progressives Congress? Well, there's more to discuss with our in-house analyst, Mr. Dele Fanimo. Let's get his insight on this development and what these mean for Nigerian democracy. Mr. Dele, given the allegation, okay, let's leave the allegation. Let's talk about the alleged intervention by former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. Do you think President Tinubu will reinstate Governor Fubara before June 12th? And how do you assess the constitutionality of Fubara's suspension and his approach to it? Is it about him considering political solutions instead of going the legal way?
As a matter of fact, the issue of Fubara is concluded. It's not a matter of if, but it's a matter of when it will happen. But I want to believe, going by the antecedent of the president, is not likely to make any pronouncement on June 12th, which is Thursday.
Why did you say that? You said his antecedent. What about his antecedent?
The man likes surprises, shocks. And he understands when he puts you in the anger cliff where you'll be in animated suspension for a while. But the fact that Fubara will return to the government house in Rivers State is something that is very clear. He will return, and he's not going to wait until the 6 months elapses. Even though
his mind is not in the State House anymore, even though his spirit has left,
Don't mind politicians. Even the Jonathan you are talking about, when Alamisia had problems, he was running after saying, I don't want to be governor, I don't want to be governor. But when it was clear that Alamisia is gone for good, he did not come back to become governor. He became vice president, acting president, and president, and he also contested second time, just that he lost.
And he became one of the most celebrated African presidents.
See, let me tell you one thing. Winston Churchill, a British statesman, in his lifetime, when politics was not rash like this, said, we politicians, we don't believe ourselves. How much more you, civilians and other people on the street, believe in us? Never take the words of a politician. Because, number one, morality is removed from their dictionary. Integrity is low. So whatever they tell you is just posturing for the optics. It is not what is in their mind. Okay, let Tinubu announce tomorrow, even without waiting for Thursday, June 12th, that Fubara, so administrator, go back to your village. Fubara, take your rightful position. All elected officials resume, and let Fubara go and give an address that, in view of the fact that I have said I'm no longer interested in the government house of Rivers State, I hereby resign as the executive governor of Rivers State, and my deputy also goes with me while I hand over to the Speaker of the State Assembly. but it will not happen. Why is he planning to cross to APC if he doesn't want anything?
He has not come out to tell anybody that he's crossing to the All Progressives Congress.
You need somebody.
The visit for some is actually genuine. Some have said that Adeleke's visit to the president was out of genuine respect for the office. Yes. Some have said Segun Showunmi's visit. Segun Showunmi is a vocal, very, very brutal spokesperson for the People's Democratic Party, always eating at Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But he also had a visit yesterday, and I read the full report where he was talking about how much of a conversation they had, and the tone gradually changing. So, but for some people had alleged that, oh, this is another sign crossing, but some others have said, no, these are genuine politicians that are beginning to have a rethink, understanding that politics does not have to be war. So for Fubara, it might just be a governor that has felt that, oh, this path that I told in the past wasn't the way to go. I need to give respect to whom it is due, and visiting the president might just be for visiting's sake. He might not have any plans of decamping to the All Progressives Congress.
I like your premise that you have laid. It shows that you are prime for the spokesperson of these politicians.
I'm not speaking for the politicians.
No.
As someone
that's my view.
I'm
here to hear my opinion. That's my opinion.
As a current affairs and news broadcast journalist, I need to follow up with all of these events. And trust me, it's been a lot of visits back to back from last week even up till today.
Honestly, I am not holding anything against your position at all. It's just my own way of saying that you are primed for that position.
All right. But really,
please, Tinubu and his people, there is somebody here that needs to be uptaking.
No, I'm speaking for. I'm speaking on behalf of the Nigerians.
Talking seriously, you see, Wike needed Fubara to bow, and he has bowed. He needs to deliver Rivers State to APC. He has succeeded in doing that.
Really?
Yes. The moment Fubara moves to APC becomes the Lord of Rivers State.
Oh, with a Rotimi Amechi moving out of APC
See,
to another to
Rotimi
form
Amechi,
coalition, it might just be a tussle.
No, let me tell you, Rotimi Amechi is still on tenterhooks. He doesn't have any solid base. He's still groping, running out after people, coalition. He doesn't have a base. Amechi does not have a base as we speak. So Amechi will join the train. I can bet you. And once Amechi joins the train, Odili is already taken.
Senior man. But how might the relationship between Fubara and Wike influence the political dynamics in Rivers State moving forward, looking at the many followers that these top politicians have at the moment?
I can tell
and
you
you're not even mentioning Tonye Cole. That's supposed to be a man from Rivers State too.
Let me tell you one thing. I can tell you that Wike wanted power. And with the backing of the president and presidency, he had acquired much power, at least for now. And so Fubara read this very well, and he knew that it was going to be consumed. So he had no
He read
choice.
it after the suspension, or he had always known?
He never knew before the suspension.
I really needed clarity on that. Because he took that suspension for a lot of resetting.
He believed that so many people were on his side, but he has forgotten that if there is a word that is always recurring in politics, is betrayal.
Betrayal.
Because no politician has that sense of value when it comes to enlightening selfish interest. Everybody wants to make sure that he's on the table and not outside the table to come and pick the crumbs. And so once they know the tide is this way, they flow with the tide. That's why you see some of them today. The day Fubara will be reinstated, most of them will be at that venue.
Mr. Fanimo,
and they will sing Osana, and they will even hold brooms.
Mr. Fanimo, you talked about Tinubu and surprises, but many people also say that Tinubu is a democratic person. Is somebody that, one of those that were in the Nadeco fought for where we are today. Don't you think that Tinubu's decision on Fubara's suspension and making that declaration on June 12th will somewhat give him a level of, beyond leverage? I think that maybe be able to gain the trust of some Nigerians.
Tinubu knows where his pot of soup is kept. It's not within those people you consider. We have been so pauperized that poverty is a very strong weapon in the hand of politicians today. So if you are thinking that Nigerians will be resolute to do what is right, you are deceiving yourself. And you better have a rethink. Nobody, the population of Nigeria, if they say is 200 or 250, I can tell you that only a very minute fraction of that 200 or 250 has that fear of God and are not ready to pick from the crumbs.
All right.
Even when it is stale.
Thank you very much for sharing your insight with us, Mr. Fanimo. I wish we had more time to talk about this and more. But to our viewers, thank you so much for joining the People's Voice today. Until next time, stay informed and ensure that your voices are heard. I am Adefunke Ajaisimi, and I strongly believe in this project in Nigeria. Nigeria will be great again. Good afternoon.
Are you ready for